learn a little bit about each one. And if you're not willing to learn, I'm not sure marketing is for you. And that might sound harsh.
Couple questions. Are there any tools up front that you would recommend, or SaaS apps or otherwise, for the solopreneur, the young companies, et cetera, to use? I mean, I know we use Buffer. Are there any other kind of tools like that you would say, hey, you guys should check out this to help you get started, or they're really helpful with your SEO or otherwise?
Buffer is great as an affordable option. I think that it has a lot of simplicity to it. It's got a minimalist design, so it doesn't require a lot of calories to understand what it is you're doing, which is valuable, especially for the entrepreneur.
Yeah, and for those who may not know, Buffer is just a app that allows you to post across multiple social media channels simultaneously or otherwise. You can manage your posts and so forth. But yeah,
so I like Buffer for that.
Yeah.
The upgrade from that would be Sprout Social, and you can manage a lot. I think they have other platforms that you can manage in addition.
Okay.
Some of them might be the same, but the analytics are really good.
Okay.
And I like to know if I was that social media account person, I was running the social media account, I would want to know the analytics and what's working and what's not. And you can tag different posts, and you could say, oh, the picture of the 3 girls did better than the picture of the 3 guys, and you could learn from that. You could get better.
Okay.
That's a good idea. As far as SEO goes, we haven't talked much about it, but SEMrush is probably one of the best ones.
How do you spell that?
SEM.
Okay.
Just Rush, I think.
Okay.
It has more analytics than you would even want to know, So it's incredibly advanced.
And that helps you with your blog or with your actual social posts?
So we could unpack different elements of SEO.
Okay.
There's technical SEO, there's on-page SEO, there's off-page SEO.
We haven't have a whole other episode we're talking about SEO.
Listing management, SEO matters.
Stay tuned for part 2 with Evan next year. No,
right.
Yeah.
I would say, I just want to mention real quick on SEO. I think it's important, but as far as for creatives go, it's not going to immediately grow your company. It's something that you should spend maybe an hour a month thinking about and being intentional about,
okay.
But it's not going to immediately grow. It's just not. Reputation management is probably pretty important. So if you're like on Thumbtack or you're on some wedding venue or something like that.
What is Thumbtack?
Thumbtack is like you can hire out freelancers for all kinds of different jobs, not just creative jobs. So there's like,
is that like Upwork or no?
Yes.
Okay.
In a way, but it's more local.
Okay.
So you can do your own reputation management, which is really just getting reviews and making sure that your page is completely filled out. That's a really oversimplified version of that. SEO matters. It's important, but...
What about review companies like Clutch? You heard of Clutch.co?
Yes.
Okay. How important is that? How helpful is that? Because Clutch will say, hey, it's free to use. You can get incredible reviews. We can get you on the first page of Google, if you're in a certain...
Yes. Yeah. So, Clutch and all their, other various sites that you can have your site or your business listed on, it's great. They matter. Go ahead and claim your profiles. Yep. You got some great loyal customers who are willing to write reviews for you. Have them do that. But I wouldn't say that it's worth overthinking. Most of this stuff when it comes to SEO, you can choose to be really, really good at it and be a specialist and show the first, 5 results of a Google search, which is important. But most people are going to land in the middle. And I don't think for the people that land in the middle, it's worth overthinking. I think it's worth educating yourself or contracting out somebody who really knows it. But don't spend a whole lot of time and effort on that, on the organic side of SEO and social. Again, it is important and it still matters, but don't get upset if a post isn't exactly what you want.
Sure.
But it should be on brand.
So something you mentioned, go ahead and grab your profiles. Sparks a thought for me because it seems like every minute there's another social thing being born. What's your opinion on that? Because we can have profiles all over the place, but is that a waste of time or should you just stay focused? And my thinking is it's probably better just to, kind of be in this lane, these 3 lanes better, more than it is to spread yourself out and worry about trying to claim your stake your name all over the place.
So I would say, yes, it is worth you at least claiming the, at whatever.
Even if you don't do anything with it, it's fine. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It's going to be unfortunate if somebody else wants it and actually does something with it. There are those people where, like my own domain would like that.
Yeah.
But I remember I paid for my own personal name, evanknox.com. I have a couple $1,000s for it. And I don't know if it was available 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
But if it was, I should have paid whatever dollar amount because I paid way too much. I've also bought handles is what they're called, for those little @ signs. I've bought handles before for other people or for myself. And
is there a handle domain, like a handle broker somewhere? I didn't even know that was, I didn't know that was a thing. Do you have to?
I just DM them until they
there you
finally answer. So,
yeah.
Just go ahead and claim it. It takes 10, 15 minutes of your time. Just don't be lazy. Grab it. Now, do I think that you need to go into the App Store and look at all the top 30 social networks and go claim it? Probably not, but it might be worth your time to go grab top 10. Just go grab your Snapchat handle. Who knows? Maybe it can make a comeback. And then the other thing I would say is, you were kind of alluding to it. Do whatever you think you're best at. So if you're really good at YouTube, just crush YouTube. You don't need to really overthink all the other platforms.
Right.
There's a guy that I follow. His name is Graham Stephan. He is a real estate agent in California, but he makes all these videos about finance. And most of the stuff I'm already familiar with at this point, but I kind of like him. He's got all kinds of cool stuff. He's probably just a few years older than I am, but he's definitely financially better off than I am. And so I just like him. So I follow his YouTube. But at some point, probably 2 to 3 months into following him, I thought, I'm going to go ahead and follow him on Instagram too. And his Instagram is not nearly as put together as his YouTube page, but he still has 300,000 followers. And it's because he has this massive audience here. He's really good at this, but then they kind of cross over and he doesn't have to promote it. He might say, hey, if you're on Instagram or whatever, just add me there.
Yep.
It doesn't overthink it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. So switching gears, we talked about some of the tools that are there for people who are in it, but for the person who might be listening to what you're saying and saying, dude, this is exactly what I want to do. Like this guy is who I want to work towards that, or otherwise, where would they even begin? I just want to throw that out because I know there's certain people in the creative space that are going to want to do, what you do and offer that to other companies. So how do they get started? What's the best way for them just to kind of get their foot in the door, or where do they start out?
I would hope that person has a lot of drive and effort. And then if they do, I think that they should learn a little bit about each category. Because ultimately, if you're going to be a really successful entrepreneur or even marketer, stuff is always
Define
changing.
those categories real quick again, just to when you say category. So
let's say there's the paid advertising side. Okay, within the paid advertising umbrella, there's probably 1,000 different platforms that you can advertise on. You can advertise on Pandora, Spotify. You can do audio advertising through those. You can also do LinkedIn and Google and now TikTok ads. Tons of platforms, okay? But if you can just pick a couple, learn a little bit about it. I really like the free courses by most of these companies. I think that they're a great foundation. Ultimately, the stuff that you end up doing is not always exactly as they tell you to do, but you're going to understand how the platform works. So Facebook Blueprint is a good one. Google Ads has all of their awesome platforms. If you want to learn about advertising, go and check those out. If you want to learn about organic social, there's more than enough resources on blogs like Sprout Social's blogs, Later's blogs. You can also take those platforms courses, which is fine. And I think paying attention to what it is that the people that you currently follow and what they do really well is another great way to learn. Like Gary Vee, he's kind of the, I'd say one of the kings of social, just because he's been preaching how important it is. He does it really well. He produces an absurd amount of content. So learn a little bit about each one. And if you're not willing to learn, I'm not sure marketing is for you. And that might sound harsh, but I say that because I think that if you want to be really good at one craft, let's say we were really good at graphic design. Sure. Graphic design might evolve as far as style goes, but it's not completely reinventing the wheel. But when you look at marketing strategy, it is almost always changing. Now, the macro level, brand awareness, consideration, conversion, that was still true for my grandfather. But the actual nuts and bolts of how you go about that might change. And where you're going to get the highest return on your investment, that might change. So I like that. Also, we're big fans of StoryBrand here. So I like StoryBrand, all their business made simple stuff. And I think that I don't know that this is the route that I would do, but I would suggest this to most people is if you can apprentice under somebody. So important. Yes. The apprenticeship model is, that's how the greats were created back in the day, right? And it's kind of a dying art. You've got to, I'm there with you on that. There's a guy, I won't say who it is because I know he does not want people asking him, but there's a guy who's probably 10 years farther than I am in the entrepreneurship space as far as buying and selling companies and creating them and all that stuff. And so he, at one point, just he didn't throw it out to me. He was just talking about, we were going back and forth. He's I'm really looking for somebody that can come and help me manage my portfolio of companies, that can come in and be like a mini apprentice to me. And I'll give a percentage of equity to other companies. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, that is sick. I was like, I don't know who you should And then, we both were joking. He's like, it's not, I don't think that you need that.
It's not you, Evan. Sorry.
Basically. I wouldn't have wanted it to be me. I don't do well if, I can work for other people, but it's not my favorite. So anyway, I think that'd be a great way is to apprentice under somebody like him. And if they're, anyone, if they want to learn how to do a video production company or,
it's almost like you could probably bet. I mean, most people are pretty cool. I mean, I just think overall, in terms of humanity, if you were to find someone who's doing this really well, or maybe they're farther along, and just simply ask them, right? Go up to them and say, hey, you're doing, I see you doing amazing at this. Yeah. Could we have coffee? Could we go out for kind of buy lunch? Kind of figure out, even if nothing else, they can pour into you for an hour or two. Or maybe if you get lucky, you find yourself in that apprenticeship kind of position.
And there would probably be expectations, right? I don't know if you get paid, I don't know if you do or don't.
Right, but at that point, I mean,
you're learning
you want to
so
learn
much.
Or not, right? I mean, the learning is kind of where the value's at. What do you know today you wish you'd known before? And what are you learning today that you're excited about? Where are you headed next?
Okay. The first one, what do I wish I knew back then? Take everything with a grain of salt. Just don't overthink it. I mean, I've kind of said it a few times, but you
touched on that earlier, right? About each post isn't this huge critical thing that you has to be perfect before you hit post.
Yes. And I originally started Caffeine mainly doing organic social. And then I saw how much it mattered, but it didn't dramatically impact revenue if we had a call to action that day. And so I thought, this is important. I know that's important, but I don't think this is the thing that's the biggest lever to pull to grow the company immediately. And so that's when I shifted over to marketing strategy. So I wouldn't overthink all the small stuff. That's kind of why I keep saying that sort of thing. Is like, I think it matters in context to a strategy. I think it's worth your time, but how much time and how much money? I'm not sure. I think
there's a lot of people who probably feel a weight lifted, like, it's so comforting or helpful.
But I hope they don't do nothing.
Right.
That's not
you got to do, absolutely.
Got to do something.